So I'm stumbling around Coachmen, and I find another one of these things with this cool patio that is not a toy hauler. Check this one out. Hello and welcome, everybody. Josh the RV Nerd with Bish's RV down here at Coachmen. And Chaparral is a brand I think that gets slept on quite a bit. They maybe over the last couple years haven't looked the flashiest or fanciest, but I want to start listing off some of the qualities that these have, and you tell me if this sounds like something you might be interested in. Let's begin with 0 to 110 degree rated, tested, proven weather package. Let's do things like double Asdel sidewalls. They're one of the very first fifth wheels to ever do that. Let's do things like having the capacity for a triple simultaneous air conditioner, all three with heat pumps. So imagine 3 centralized heat pumps in an RV, plus an electric space heating fireplace, plus holding tank heaters, and on top of that, your normal propane furnace heating system. So literally like a dual heat system going on simultaneously. That sounds pretty good to me. There's a bunch of cool qualities like that you'll find in these. They do a lot of really good things that I don't know that they get a lot of credit for. I don't know why. Maybe because they're not the new kid on the block or something. But this is one of those brands in fifth wheels that I kind of feel like is a little bit underrated sometimes. Now, give me a few minutes here. We're actually going to get to see the new decor that they're going into. What you're looking at in our flyby footage is actually the previous decor that is about to phase out. So they're about to, I feel, look newer, fresher, a little more executive, a little cleaner on the interior decor. And you'll find that through the entirety of the Chaparral and Brookstone lineup. But this floor plan right here, let's get the elephant out of the room. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, oh, they're copying the Brinkley Z3400. And I understand why people would say that. I do think they probably wouldn't be building this if it weren't for that Brinkley. To be fair, though, rear patio non-toy hauler fifth wheels, Keystone was one of the first to do that many, many years ago. Look up a 338 PAT Cougar and you'll see what I mean. But what they did here is they put the windows over on the camp side of the RV instead of the driver's side of the RV. So it's not just like they ran it through a Xerox machine. Each builder has things that the other doesn't. So I wanted to go through this, give it its own day in court, and you decide. What do you think about it? Good, bad, ugly, or in between? I'll try to share the same with you. Let us know if you appreciate the fair and candid information, and let's get going. Okay, so first quick little note. They built this model, this prototype for the 25 season, and then realized they liked a different decor better. So this is what we're going to look at today, but this is what it's going to look like. It's not the straight, stark white decor wood tones that you see from a lot of manufacturers. I'm going to call it, they're debating on the name like sea salt. To me, it's like a light kind of sandstone. It's just a nice little off-white. But what I like about it is if you happen to touch something, you're not going to immediately see all of your thumbprints and whatnot. And they're going to brighten it up with a couple of those little, I don't know, what is that, maple or something accents, the little bit of wood tone accent that they have there. To me, it has a little bit more of an executive feel, but this kind of jelly ain't everyone's jam. I'm kind of curious what you think about it. And I just noticed this crazy light fixture update. That's cool. What do you think about that? And I feel weird recording this RV and not starting by focusing on the rear wet bar, patio, deck, entertainment space, whatever we want to call this thing here. It's, the rear hardware of a toy hauler, but without the big garage of a toy hauler, which also means not sacrificing the living space as you commonly encounter on a lot of toy haulers. Now, you notice how they actually are including the steps back here to make coming and going a lot easier. We've got this if it were down in ramp mode, it would be a 3,000-pound loading deck. It's 1,500 pounds in patio party mode like we're looking at here right now, which is, I mean, that seems like enough for, I feel like the size of adults that could actually fit on this thing, I feel like that's going to be enough. Now, real quick, housekeeping note, we're going to have several of those, obviously, as we go through this video today. They had this idea. They were prototyping this idea of putting a sprayer port down there. So if you wanted to hose off the deck, you could. I love the idea. But I have enough experience where those things remain pressurized until you unhook them, and they always go, they always spit a little bit at you, whether it's antifreeze, whether it's water, and it's mounted inside a wooden cabinet. and left in that existing position, it's not if but when it would water damage the cabinetry. I reported that to the folks here at Chaparral, and they said, oh, man, that's a great point. Thank you for pointing that out. And they're more than likely going to move that water port. I don't have confirmation right now, but it's probably happening. Cracking open everything back here, giving you a little bit more of a detailed look. That is a, what is that, a 40, 50-inch TV or something back here? That's also solid surface counter space back here, which is nice, with several very easy-to-reach power outlets, which I ain't mad at. Also, very nice space for a wastebasket right below the sink out here. Outdoor wastebasket, by the way, is one of the least appreciated and most useful things I think that you'll encounter out there. A kind of cool thing, the way that their ramp patio sets up, it doesn't have like separate what I call puppy savers. Some toy hauler ramp deck systems, there's like a 6-inch gap right here that like children, dogs, cats, whatever can get out of. So not having that potential fall down space is kind of a nice thing. Now this does have, I guess you call it a man door, an entry door back here. The idea behind this is if you wanted to get back into this rear kitchen space, whether you were using it as a cargo load area, we're going to come back and close slides and stuff for road mode later. But whatever you're wanting to do with it, you'd be able to do that in transit, or just kind of, you know, more opportunities to come, go, and flow in and out of the RV. Obviously, that's like a smoky glass right there. It doesn't have any sort of extra curtain or anything. And apparently I left a stool in the way.
Hello there.
Let me get that out of here. There you are. Nice, easy, wide open walkway. We got a nice sample of that stool. We're going to call that the stool sample section of the video. Thank you. And in case you're curious as to why I left it perpendicular, I have found those little, you know, arch butt padded bottom chairs. I saddle straddle them. I actually, you know, sling my legs off either side of it. I find it much, much easier to actually fit my bony backside on that thing, but that's just me. I'm using this as my laptop workstation right now, and I want to kind of, let's focus in on that. Notice where they put the sink and everything in this floor plan. They put it on that forward wall right there. I really like that because it leaves the island wide open. And by adding a couple of the little stool spaces here, which you don't necessarily have to use these, like that could be a handy little spot for like a dog pet bed. Give your, you know, if you got a big 4-legged furry friend, it helps them have their own space where they're with the family and having a good time and everyone's having a blast and making memories without necessarily like being in the way. You know, that's a handy spot right there. Now, as I back up a little bit, let's talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of people are going to say, oh boy, they're copying Brinkley. I have no doubt they were inspired by. But you know, when that Z3400 video came out, the number one thing people said is, why did they put the windows on the driver's side of the RV? Why didn't they put them on the camp side of the RV? So Chaparral took note, and they gave you maximized campside windows, which I think some folks might appreciate. Up top here, normally this would have dual air conditioners with an option for a third air, but with the Furrion air conditioners that we are technically currently looking at, but are going away, you could actually only run 2 air conditioners at a time. You had to prioritize which 2 you wanted to run, even though you could have 3 installed. Doesn't make a ton of sense. So they did some digging, and they are adopting GE profile air conditioners, which are more energy efficient. They have a lower power draw, effectively. So as long as you stagger the starts, first of all, you'll be able to run 2 of them simultaneously on 30 amp service, which is a very cool feature. And if you do get the third air option, you'll actually be able to run all 3 at the same time. Now, if you want to run all 3 airs and you start firing up coffee makers and hair dryers and that microwave and the electric fireplace, you're going to start popping breakers more than likely. But without getting a crazy expensive specialized energy management system, you'll actually be able to run triple simultaneous air. So like my Texas friends, my friends down in humidity Georgia country, folks, you're going to be okay in here with their third air. But again, that is something that's probably going to start production roughly in, I think, maybe October of 2024. I don't know when this video is coming out, but if it's after that date, the decor will be updated, the air conditioners will be updated, everything will be updated. What they didn't need to update is this Easy View Direct Entertainment Center with a Sir Mix-a-Lot double-up pantry on either side of that sucker. And I'm going to get you in there and get you a look at those in just a minute. But there is no neck wrecking going on here whatsoever. I will say, though, I try to be fair. Let's talk good with bad. It has a toe stubber kitchen slide. Is that a deal breaker for you? Yes or no? Leave me a note. Let me know. They are also still using floor ducted heating on here because that is one of the most efficient, effective ways to heat the RV. And that's one of the things that helps them achieve their 0 to 110 degree rated package. They also don't necessarily, because they went with the gigantic double pantries, they don't have a symmetrical like kitchen stove oven space. You got the 22-inch oven below, but it is shoved a little bit more against the right-hand side next to the microwave. Now, that's also making room for a wastebasket drawer over there, which is cool, but it means some asymmetry. So, there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, there's everything in between, and that's what I try to point out here in my videos, because here's how I look at it. If I was going to buy something like this, and I wanted to know what I'm getting for my money, I want all the information I can get, and I want to know what's also not awesome about it, so I don't regret a multi-tens of thousands of dollars purchase. That's my goal, is to try to treat you the way that I would want to be treated if I were spending the money, because I buy stuff no different than you. Frankly, I pinch pennies till Lincoln squeals. I've said that in my videos before. I am, well, you could say cheap, you know, but I'd like to say frugal or whatever. But anyway, that's a marine woven slide floor, by the way. So it is carpetless, basically, in your walkable spaces. And now that we've basically spun around the living room, let's crack everything open and work our way back around the other direction. You have all blackout roller shades. They're also really good about giving you light switches right above every single thing. Now, if you back the video up, you'll see 3 lights sticking just above the theater seat. Does that remind anybody else of that one scene in Total Recall where you get to see 3 of something in your face? Maybe that's just the degenerate part of me, but that's the first thing that I thought of when I saw the triple lights staring at me right there. But never mind all that. Did you notice in the one pantry next to the oven, there's actually one shelf that has power outlets built right into it? Kind of cool thing about that is you can use it like a little bit of an appliance station. So there might be certain things that you actually don't need to bust out all the time, but occasionally use, but you don't want them to eat up your countertop space. It's a really cool thing having that in there. Now, those triple drawers that you saw buried inside that pantry as well, they actually have a positive latch system so they cannot slide open and go spilling their contents in the pantry floor, making a mess for you, that you don't discover until you get back to your campsite. So there's some other cool things they're doing there. And again, because they don't have a sink in the island, I call it a Dynaland, where it's just pure prep space, serving space, hangout space. I like it. I like it when they do stuff like that to really kind of maximize the function space of the RV. So I'd be kind of curious, seeing some A-B samples side by side like that, which decor do you like better? Do you like the old decor that we're looking at or the new one they're going to? Are they moving the right direction or are they making a mistake? Ooh, this is the stuff I look for. Let's say, God forbid, you pop a fuse while you're traveling. You can get to that converter box very, very easily. I am okay with that. I have heard rumor they might be changing up the step arrangement a little bit, but it's still going to be a 3-stepper. One thing I do appreciate is just a little spot near the door to hang, I don't know, a couple jackets, a dog leash, something like that. Like, little details like that are so useful, and they're never the kind of thing that is ever on a brochure. They're the kind of thing that you see and you appreciate when you come visit the RV in person. Now, I know how I feel about this, and I actually am pretty confident I know how most people are going to feel about this, but I would ask you, ladies and gentlemen, in the peanut gallery, what is your opinion and or preference on a double sink bathroom in an RV like this? There's no wrong answers. Let's be nice to one another in the comment section. But I would really be curious what you would like to see there. Now, I'm not a person that uses a big giant fifth wheel like this, but I personally would prefer either one sink in the middle or one sink over to the right, and then maximum counter space and or storage below that. Now, speaking of storage, remember how we talked about that Total Recall triple up? Well, let's start with the right-hand Lipitor storage galorage door right there. And you see that you actually, they packed a lot of capacity into this. I'm not upset about that whatsoever. I would have really liked it if they would have left some of the space under at least one of the sinks open for a wastebasket. Like at my house, my wife and I have dual sinks, and it's handy. But that's a house. That's not a camper. But maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not an authority. Just because that's how I see it doesn't mean that's the way to do it. But having one space at least for a wastebasket would be nice. Although I guess you could probably put one next to the toilet, but then it interferes with one of the cabinet doors there. But huge space around the toilet. I was deciding if I wanted to make a dad joke for stressing the word "but" while staring at a toilet, and I think inadvertently I have now, even though it wasn't really good. You know how like if you have to explain a joke, it's not funny. Yeah. Anyway, another total recall triple up going on over here. Everything in this RV seems to be done in triplicate: air conditioners, light fixtures, medicine cabinets, all kinds of stuff. The shower here, I'm a little over 6'1", flat-footed, wearing some thick-soled shoes. I was still able to stand in there, so I think we're roughly about 6'3" from floor to ceiling. You may have noticed, too, it does have a little, I don't know if I really want to call that a seat over there in the shower. Maybe just like a little shelf where you could set down some body wash or maybe prop your leg up if Uncle Gary's shaving his shins. That's one of those weird things that my Uncle Gary does tend to do. It is interesting that they have heat ducting in the flooring downstairs, but they went to a cabinet duct system upstairs, although I don't know that people are necessarily going to be upset by that. I also really want to give them credit for enclosing the storage space here in the bathroom instead of having, once again, you know, the capacity for stuff to fall out in transit, which no one's going to be excited about. It is the more conventional dollar store 4-inch fart fan variety. Could you update and upgrade to a bigger vent fan? Yes. Yes, you could. Do you need to? Well, yes, you do. Oh, it's the little things, guys. A locking bathroom door, so you got a little bit of a sanity space. And again, if you watch back through the video, rewind a little bit, you're going to see it's just simple light switches, but like next to the dining table, next to the theater seat, next to everything, they give you a switch to activate or deactivate the lights right above you, which is actually kind of handy, you know? Interesting location for some power outlets right there. All right, well, hey, whatever, moving on. Similar light switch action for the front closet there, by the way, so it's not like motion lighting. Again, the air conditioning will be changing over to a GE Profile air conditioner. Anybody who actually has one of those, could you share with the class a little bit of feedback on what your experience is with that in terms of volume and or functionality? We are looking at an option. I think it's optional, King. I don't know. You can get a queen in these if you want. That king bed, I will say, is very bossy. One of the things I noticed when I flipped the bed up to get some bonus footage in a second here, with my chunky chicken nugget dad bod, I had kind of a hard time slipping between the wall and that thing. So, I don't know. Maybe for some folks, that's a little bit of a consideration. Maybe not. I could be wrong. Something I did notice, though, let me get you up in here, up in here. Anybody note that reference? They went with a single set of power outlets mounted in the slide ceiling, and I'm going to call that just like a phone shelf. It's definitely not a CPAP stand, certainly, but I don't know. I think that if I had a USB adapter up there, I could very easily make that a phone shelf. And it's this is actually one of the most traditional front closet arrangements out there, where it is literally just a giant closet. But does it need to be anything else? I don't know. Again, there's no wrong answers. That you might notice you do have your washer dryer hookups over here. So if you wanted to, you could throw a combo in there. I don't think you'd put a stackable in, but I think you could put them in side by side. So you could still have separate washer and dryer. It just sort of depends a little bit on, exactly what you want to accomplish. So let me take a little bit of a load off here. Lay down in the bed. This is what you're looking at right there. Now you see some TV hookups in the ceiling. But with that big window across from you, you're probably not going to wall mount a TV. You're probably going to want to get a TV that sits on that stand right there. And now that I say that, that seems like a little bit of a conflicting item. And I say that because, voila, the top of that flips open. And if that flips open, it's hard to leave a TV there. So I guess you're just going to have to decide which one of these things you like and or appreciate the most. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Meanwhile, notice how under the bed, the storage doesn't go all the way to the floor. That's because they're using a little bit different slide mechanism in here as compared to what you usually find in bedrooms. This is a historically classic, but nowadays super rare rack and pinion bed slide. It's interesting. It's actually fully contained inside of the slide itself. You don't have that ram bar hanging out underneath of it. Now, normally, rack and pinion slides, you don't want to sit in and or occupy while they're retracted. But notice how that one right there actually does have that little wheel at the end, helping glide the bed in and out. It's supported. Now, here's the thing. What I'm not saying is Josh the RV Nerd officially sponsors you sitting in, using, sleeping this bed slide while it's retracted. According to the letter of the law, it's not been tested. It's not proven. If it breaks, you have to fix it. It's not a warrantable item. I think that if you're willing to experiment and use some common sense, I think you actually might be okay here. Now, I am noticing this refrigerator and freezer is completely unobstructed when the slide's closed, which makes me think, wouldn't it be cool if this had one of those lower slide open freezer sections with the dual upper fridge doors? Because it just gives you more bigger spaces to store things without losing any sort of cubic foot of capacity. And they make those in a 12-volt compressor variety now. So, I don't know. What do you think about that? Now, as long as we have the slides closed and we're talking road mode, remember back there in the patio space? Well, remember, you've got this basically RV kitchen back door access point going on here. Now, I'm basically simulating road mode because if you close up the back tailgate section of this, that will be the most limiting factor. So, you absolutely could get in here. Now, since they are moving away from the laminate flooring, laminated flooring, I think technically that could be two different things, and going to a 5/8 wood floor deck, if you wanted to, you could install some light-duty D-ring tie-downs. Now, you don't have enough space to put a side-by-side ATV here, so I ain't worried about it. But if you want a place to strap down some e-bikes or something, I could see that working right there. Okay, so if we start talking towing, which I like to do when we step outside on these things, taking a second look at the weights and measures there, I walked over and I looked at the actual empty dry weight on this RV off the tag where they scaled it. It was 12,506 pounds. That may be different from the numbers that you saw on screen, which are like the website brochure weights. So that's something I used to do, is get the actual weight off the RV, and I think I need to kind of get back to that at some point. If that is useful information for you, give you maybe discrepancies between brochure dry weight and real dry weight, leave me a note, because it's yet another thing amongst a bajillion and 6 other things that I need to try to remember every time I make a video. And I won't, inevitably, there's going to be a time or two that I miss. So apologies there, but just doing my best, you know. This is auto leveling. It is a 4-point electric system, which at these weights, is still a effective system. It's also a lesser expensive system. You want to go to a 6-point hydraulic? It's available out there for more money. Not available on this product. Other things might offer it. Look at the upper deck slide, though. You notice how you don't see any gear mechanisms on the sidewalls? This is a rare example of basically it's a specialized application of a rack and pinion slide. So this RV has triple rack and pinion slides, which typically weigh a little more, but are generally preferred for their function, their longevity, their lack of typical problems that some other slide systems sometimes incur. So that, I think, is a really important feature to kind of point out here. Now, because you do have that rear patio deck scenario going on, you do have a second gray tank outlet all the way back there. I guess that only matters if you're actually going to use the sink in your rear patio space, but your kitchen and your bathroom drain up here. So it is potentially a 2-headed sewer monster. It just depends on what you're doing with it. Now, you can't see a lot under the belly, but like most fifth wheels nowadays, it's enclosed, it's forced air heated. They are using a radiant barrier lining, which also is found behind the nose cap and in the roof line. They have holding tank heat pads. They are forced air heated. I can't remember if I said that. Anyway, they're 0 to 110 degree rated. They're doing the things that really matter where they really matter. So, you know, there's a little nugget of wisdom for you. You can see here some pecs on pecs kind of action going on. Easy access to things like our water lines, you know, behind that little door number 2 right there. The auto leveling controls are also, they're up high enough that cargo shift is not going to smash them, but you do kind of have to reach into the corner, and I don't know that, especially with this big swinging baggage slam latch door open, that you can easily directly see the kingpin. Like, even standing back away from the RV like I was, I couldn't necessarily see that. Now, I have to get a closer look at that auto leveling system. A lot of those have some kind of like free app that you can Bluetooth to it. So if you, you know, you want to be able to use your phone to raise and lower the hitch point on the RV, typically you can do that. I did notice too, I was a little bit surprised really, it's a single power awning. It's a good size awning. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but they did not mount a second awning on the face of the slide out. That's actually something I don't see Chaparral typically doing. It seems like that's something they reserve more for the Brookstone family, which is Chaparral's big brother, if you weren't aware. Now, if you're wanting to be able to see a little bit better when you're towing this sucker down the road, you are all prepped and ready for both side and rear view cameras. And if I open this up over here, it looks like a smaller baggage door. So I did want you to see that they are still 30-pound propane tanks. They didn't try to get cute and cheap and go to 20s where nobody was maybe looking. Now, you see that big black circle above the propane tank? That is your outside speakers. And I know that that sounds really weird, but that is actually, when I explain this, grammatically correct. That thing is your outside speakers, plural. It sounds super twisted, but it is actually, it does have left and right elements in that JBL system. It's mounted at about head level as I'm walking around, which I wouldn't want it any higher, so I'm kind of okay with it there. I think I probably would have preferred it mounted skirt level. Now, once again, in this footage that we're looking at today, we're looking at the decor that's phasing out. We're looking at the Furrion air conditioners that are phasing out and being replaced by the GE Profile, more efficient air conditioners that have the heat pumps on them. So I have to ask you a little bit to go into imagination land with me, but I don't think that will be the biggest, trickiest ask for a lot of people here. Getting ourselves down here, these look to be Westlake radials. Some people have opinions one way or the other on those. Here's what I would ask of you folks. Instead of taking my word for it, leave a comment. Are you an RV owner with experience with Westlake radials? Good, bad, ugly, indifferent? Leave us a note. Let us know what you think about that. Now, while we're working our way around, let's talk a little bit of constructionology, which is not a word. It's not even a nerdism. It's nothing. But it also somehow still makes sense. We have double Asdel walls, which basically means Asdel layering below the fiberglass and below the wallpaper on the inside. They are aluminum framed and vacuum laminated. The flooring of these, until very recently, was laminated. They are moving away from that 6-layer laminated floor structure, and they're going to an all aluminum floor structure with 5/8 floor decking. And the idea there is it's probably going to add a little bit of weight. It might even add a little cost, I don't know. But it will eliminate that opportunity for soft spots on the floor. Historically, that was something that I did see Chaparrals sometimes suffer from. I will say that was historically and not very common in recent years, but still not technically impossible. So, you know, all of that is always worth noting. It is prepped and ready for a ladder. You see the telescopic removable mount there above that, I don't know, we're going to call it the back door, the camper back door. Ooh, so I like to give you tips sometimes on how to not bust your camper. One of the things, you need to put a sticky note over your slide buttons to make sure that this door is not caught behind that slide flange, because this is on the back side of the camper where you're probably not looking. You need to make a 360 around the RV. You need to make sure this is shut, or at least not behind this, because you start closing that slide and whatever breaks, it doesn't matter. You're going to lose, and you're going to be really sad about that. Let's talk solar real quick. It's not like the kind of solar where you can park in the desert and hide from the government or something like that. It's a 200-watt solar package, give or take, something like that. 190, 200, something in that range, up on the roof with a 30-amp charge controller. What that means, if you want to plug a second panel in and daisy chain them, you could pretty much do that. If you wanted to go 1200 watt mega solar, it's not that. It's not all that. That's when you start getting into some invasive custom DIY stuff. And I don't think that's what Chaparral's trying to be. Chaparral kind of gives you, there's plenty of roof space if you're a DIY solar hero, or our stores out west are very familiar with that because boondocking is so common out there. We got wizards that can whip that stuff up for you. Basically, here's what I can tell you. We can apply any solar package of this that you're willing to pay for. And that's really what it comes down to. Just being real. So I've talked plenty about it, as I often tend to do. What are your top 3 hits and misses on this? What are the 3 or 4 things you think they nailed, and the 3 or 4 things you'd change given the opportunity? And along the way, I will leave you some links in the description to take a look at other non-toy hauler patio kind of campers that I've stumbled into out there. But also, if you're kind of curious or serious to see what one of these things might run, at least an MSRP barometer, you can see that right available there on our website whenever you're ready. No need to call a salesperson. No need to give us your blood type and social security number to figure all that out. When you're ready, we're ready. Until then, we're just going to keep the education information. Didn't know what I wanted to say there. I'm kind of corny. I'm going to call it cornfertainment. Work that out on my own time. Thanks for tuning in. That's what I'm saying. So take care, stay safe, have fun. My videos always fall apart right at the end, don't they, everyone? Informative cornformative. Ha!